Hey there, everyone. I am back with more comics I read this week. So here I am talking about the comics I read this week. I've got, what, 6 books here. So we'll go through these 6 and talk about it a little bit. So first thing I've got in this stack of stuff is this book, Enigma. It's Peter Milligan here. I think Peter Milligan did Shade the Changing Man, I think, also. But yeah, Enigma I got because I like Shade the Changing Man, and I like I like the Shade the Changing Man from Vertigo, and I thought like, well, I'll read Enigma, whatever. Enigma here, and like it looks good. I mean, like if you look at this, like it looks like Shade the Changing Man, right? But like, the art is pretty similar to it. Looks good. Like I like the art for this. And it's kind of a story about this dude who has there's these weird kind of serial killers around town that are based on this comic book that he read when he was a kid called The Enigma. And it's kind of it's a strange story, but like it goes places that are kind of not interesting. Okay, so like the story itself, it has like the seeds of something that's really good, and it never plays out as something that's really good. It turns into something. It just goes an entirely different direction. There's kind of a cool reveal at the end that I like. I mean, I like the reveal at the end where it's like you figure out who the narrator is, which is really cool, and but. I don't want to give away a lot of the story for this, but okay. So this guy, he's this boring dude. He schedules everything in his life. His girlfriend's cheating on him because he's a boring guy. And he sort of gets obsessed with the first killer, who sucks people's brains out through their nose or something. It's something like that, where he just eats their brains, but it's one of the murders happens near his house, and he goes out to find near the area, and he gets attacked, but he doesn't die. Well, he gets attacked, but he goes into a coma, and he gets kind of saved by the Enigma, who is a comic book character that he remembers from when he was a kid. And then he trying to figure out the mystery of who the Enigma is, and what is up with all these crazy guys, because the Enigma shows up and basically kills the killer. And then after that happens, another one shows up, and he hunts down the original creator of the comic, and there's this kind of plot where he's gay. The character, the comic creator is gay, and then he hits on the main character of this, and he violently attacks him because he's I'm not gay. It's really against it, and then he gets turned gay later on in the book. That was I don't think it's a terrible story, but it's a little, he falls in love with the Enigma, and becomes gay, and you find out that he's not. The thing that I didn't like about it was that it's the kind of thing where he basically just gets turned gay. He's not gay, and then the Enigma can alter reality, so it just turns him gay. It's really weird. I mean, in the end, he chooses to stay gay. The Enigma is I can change you back to the way you were, and he's no, I'll stay gay. And fine, whatever. It's just kind of gay conversion therapy. It's the reverse of that. It's that shit doesn't work. That's not how being gay works. And I understand it's a comic, but whatever. It's I wanted to like this, but I really didn't. There was parts I liked, okay, but overall I thought not what I was interested in. But whatever. I mean, would I recommend it? Yeah, probably not. It's not that great. I like Peter Milligan though. I think he does good stuff, but this is just kind of eh. It wasn't horrible. I I didn't struggle to get through it or anything, but man, it was, not that good. Next we got Tales from the Crypt. This was a new Tales from the Crypt. It has like some Bernie Wrightson stuff in here who I really like, but this came out in 2017. Okay, so there's two like really short Bernie Wrightson things in here from like 1969 and 1970. So like this initial story is like Bernie Wrightson art. You can tell by the art like immediately. Oh yeah, that's Bernie Wrightson. But like, like later on, the art is not horrible here. It's like, it's different for each story. I don't mind. There's a lot of interesting kind of stories in here. It's a lot of really short ones though. They're like, 3 or 4 pages, right? So, I mean, some of them aren't. That one was like 8 pages maybe. But like, they're all really short. So there's a bunch of stories in here. And like, because it's an anthology, there's like some that are better than others. And it's not like strictly Tales from the Crypt, because like the Haunt of Fear is also in here, and also, I guess, The Old Witch. The Haunt of Fear was her comic, and then The Vault Keeper. They're all in there. But, it was pretty good. It was passable. Not great, but not horrible either. And it was like, like $8 or something. So, not a big loss. And I enjoyed it pretty much. It's not bad, but not great. Better than Enigma, I'd say. But this is like a really quick read. Sorry, it's like 10 minutes. No, it's not that fast. Like, each story is like 5 minutes, right? Some of them are much shorter. Like the first story you get through in a minute. It's like there's like almost no dialogue. But like all the stories are really short, so this felt like I finished it really quickly. Also, kind of if you like Tales from the Crypt, you'll probably like this. If you don't, like, this isn't gonna change your mind. But it's like some alright horror short stories, so no complaints. But again, not great, but pretty good. Next, man, I have a lot of mediocre stuff this time. This is The Witching Hour. This is by Jeff Loeb. Wrote this. Jeff Loeb does he's like famous for a lot of Batman stuff. So like Batman, Long Halloween, and Dark Victory, and whatever. Dark Victory is the sequel to Long Halloween, which is something else I read this week. I'll get to it later. But I read this. This is The Witching Hour, and like I like the way it looks. Like it's got really nice art. It's good looking, but like it goes nowhere forever. So like this one was actually like I had trouble getting through it. It took like days to read this. Like I'd pick it up and read like a few pages, and I'd be like, oh, I gotta put this down. Like it really wasn't that interesting. It's like about a bunch of witches who are like kind of set up. They like offer people ways to change their lives, and generally the people like have a choice to do something. So like, they give them these blank cards that have the, like a power, and, somehow the stories are connected to each other. But like, you don't get all that until the end. Like it's 3 issues initially, and like the first 2 issues are like, I mean, there's lots of pages like this where it's like just huge blocks of text, right? And like, I don't mind the huge blocks of text. It's not that it's like I don't want to read. It's that like in the end, like it's kind of meaningless. It doesn't do anything. So like, in the end, you're reading this story, and all the long blocks of text are about like her past, one of the witches' past life, I guess, as a witch in like Salem. Okay, it's stupid. This is off topic a little bit, but like they have this thing about witch trials in Salem, and they're burning the witches in this. No witches were burned in the Salem witch trials. It didn't happen. It's not a thing. Look it up if you don't believe me. No witches were burned in Salem. They didn't do that. I think they hung people. They did kill people. They hung people. Giles Corey got pressed to death. but there's no burnings. There was no burning witches at the stake in Salem, and it's like a main plot point for this. Just takes me right out of it. Jeff Loeb, what are you doing? Do some research, guy. But like, so like I'm like, you know, like those huge blocks of text are all in the Salem time where there's like this one witch, and I'm like, it's pissing me off every time because there's like, you know, it's dumb, it's wrong. Like there's no burnings in Salem. It's like pisses me off every time. So like this was a no go for me. You know, like the ending is all right. Like again, it comes together in a way that's nice at the end, but like the journey there, not worth it. Like I mean, I like the way it happened, the way it comes together in the end, where all the stories tied together. Clever, it's all right, but like reading up to that point, just no thanks. And this is like, I've read a bunch of things by Jeff Loeb now, and like this was the first one that I was just like, fucking hell, this guy. No thanks. But like, I'm glad this wasn't the first thing I read. I would have been like, eh. But like, this one was the first one I thought like, not so good. I wouldn't even recommend this one. I'd recommend Enigma over this one. So out of the books I read this week, this one was the worst. Again, I didn't pay too much for any of these, I don't think. Like, none of them cost more than $10, right? Let's see. Well, I'll continue on that same tip here because we got another book by Jeff Loeb, and this one is like teamed up with Tim Sale, and like everything with Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale together has been good. So like maybe it's them together that's good. Maybe like Jeff Loeb needs Tim Sale there to be good. Because in the last video, I think I talked about the Challenge of the Unknown book they did, and that was great. And The Long Halloween is great, and the other book, the other Batman book they did was great, which I can't remember the name of right now. But this is Dark Victory. It's like the first Robin appearance in the kind of Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale Batman verse. And like he doesn't do anything. Like he's like kind of there at the end, basically. Like for the whole book, it's just a kind of sequel to The Long Halloween. So it continues that story onwards, and it's good. This is a good book. If you want to look at, you should look at this. The artwork is like Tim Sale is doing the art, and it's not like a standard style, but it's a nice style. I like his work. I like the way it looks. Like let me find a picture of like that. Okay, like here's a Batman. Like, and it's not a bad Batman. I think it's stylish. That's the Riddler there hanging upside down. But like, you know, it's very stylized. There's a Solomon Grundy. I didn't show you. I want to look for the one like the Joker, because like everyone knows what the Joker is supposed to look like. So the Joker, like Mr. Freeze and the Scarecrow and Joker in this. But like look at like here's like the Joker and the Scarecrow together. So like you can see his mouth looks like the Beetlejuice animated series. Like it's it's not like a realistic looking person. So like look at, like you can see it's kind of stylized. There you go. You get like a Joker on the left with his like gigantic mouth teeth, and the Scarecrow over here with his long face. But you know, it's generally it's a good book, good story. Robin is like a little kid in this, so it's like glad he's sparingly used, but he just becomes Robin at the end. So like he does like very little, but it's a good story. So next, continuing on, we've got the Creature Commandos. So yeah, the Dark Victory I'd recommend. You should read that if you get a chance. Here's the Creature Commandos. This Creature Commandos is some deep diving into the DC universe. When I was young, at the comic store that I used to go to had like 2 rooms. So it had like a front room and a back room. And initially the store was a bookstore, like a used bookstore and comics. And then it got sold to somebody else, and they just decided it should be comics only. And they turned both rooms into, like one room was comics and one room was books. And then like they turned it into a 100% comic store where all the comics were in the front and there were also comics in the back. But in the back room, after it became all comics, the back room was full of like garbage tier stuff. And I don't mean it's bad, but it was like valueless stuff from the 70s, basically. So like when you're, when I was a kid, like, I'd have a little bit of money left over or something, or like just I want to read some comics, but I don't want to spend like a bunch of money on back issues of X-Men or whatever. So I'd like go into that back room and pull out books that were like 50 cents or like a quarter or something. It's like the cheap ass books. And in those was often copies of this Weird War Tales. It's like nobody is collecting Weird War Tales. Not in the 90s at least, or in the 80s when I was a little kid. But like occasionally I picked these up. So like, because they were, super cheap. You can get them for like a quarter. So, but anyway, Weird War Tales here sometimes features the Creature Commandos. And the Creature Commandos, as you can see, they're like kind of based on your Universal monsters. So you've got a Frankenstein, you've got a vampire, you've got a werewolf. Later on, there's like a Medusa and a robot. And then you have their like dick commander is just a regular human. So like the Creature Commandos is like classic 70s comics. You know what I mean? I want to check it. I should double check that it's from the 70s, but I'm almost positive. Couldn't possibly be from not the 70s. Oh, it's not. It's from the early 80s. 81, 80, 81, 82, 83. Wow. I would have guessed late 70s, but early 80s, whatever. It's same as the late 70s. Disco era. So like, anyway, Creature Commandos is it's an interesting in that like there is so much racism in this book. Like it's crazy. Like you would like this book like could not be published today. Like you could not publish this as it is, like as a new comic. It'd just be like so many racial slurs. Just like, like not even ones that like you could get by with, because like Jap is thrown around a lot in this, but like it's just like nip and stuff like, stuff like total racial slurs. And then like they don't fight the Japanese a ton in this, but like they're all like total, let me find what they look like. They're not like often like horrible racial stereotypes, but like, so, but they kind of are not as like obvious as you would expect from something from like the 40s or whatever, but like it's got the feel of something that like was back then, because there's like tons of racial slurs being thrown out. But like, here you go, like here's the Japanese people trying to kill the Creature Commandos. They're dinosaurs on this island. But like, the Creature Commandos are basically like a commando group created by the government to like do things, and like they just basically ran tests on people who were either like dead or deserters, or like for some reason like decided to do this instead of something else. So like, the Frankenstein is basically like built from soldiers, I guess, who had died. And then like the vampire is like a dude who would have been put in jail for 30 years or something, but he decided instead to like become a test subject for this secret project, and they turned him into the vampire. And then the werewolf just like was kind of like this dopey farm boy who decided to like sign up for it by himself. And the commander is like a total dick. Like he takes like no time. Like he never misses an opportunity to like belittle the monsters. Like he's constantly calling them freaks and like making them feel bad about being monsters. He's like doesn't care when they almost die. Like the Frankenstein monster can basically take as much damage as anybody. He can just get shot and blown up and he just comes back because he's just a pile of parts and they just put him back together. But like every time, like he'll get blown up or something, and like they'll be like, oh, well, I guess the leader will be like, oh well, who cares about the Frankenstein monster? Let's go. Or like somebody else will die, like seemingly die, and then he'll just be like, whatever, I don't care. and then they'll come back and he'll be like, "Screw you, freaks," and then like, so but anyway, this I've like read slowly over the week. So like it's the stories are often like 8 to 12 pages. They're not that long. Like Weird War Tales isn't only Creature Commandos. It's usually like 2 stories or 3 stories of stuff like war stories. But yeah, I mean the Creature Commandos are kind of like a weird slice of time that doesn't exist anymore, but you can kind of go back to by reading these comics. It's kind of a strange way to describe it, but it's enjoyable because like later on in like Shade and stuff, like in DC Comics there's an organization called Shade, and a lot of these characters that are like similar versions of them show up. So like there is not this Frankenstein particularly, but there is Frankenstein Agent of Shade, which I'll talk about a different time after I get the rest of the books. But I talked about the Frankenstein last week in the what's it called, 7 Soldiers of Victory. But also like the werewolf and the vampire show back up, and I think the Medusa also shows back up as an agent of Shade. And there's a robot also that's like Jake, GI Robot. And this is a weird book. It's like, it feels like a late 70s book. I guess it's an early 80s book, but like, man, this like I don't know who I would recommend this to. Weirdos. Like, seriously, if you have like an interest in the Creature Commandos, like, all right, pick it up. But like, if you're just like a casual comic book reader or something, you just like superheroes, you're gonna hate this. It's like, you're just gonna be like, what is this? It's madness. And it kind of is, because like they get in wacky adventures. They like find dinosaurs and shit, or they like find like a secret Atlantis 2. It's like a really weird kind of thing. So like they're often like killing Nazis though. So if you like killing Nazis as a trope, you can find lots of that in here. Or if you like casual anti-Japanese racism, there's a lot of that in here too. But mostly they're fighting Nazis. They don't fight the Japanese all that much. But it's happened sometimes. But yeah, okay, so that's Creature Commandos. I'll talk about these more later on when I get to Frankenstein Agent of Shade, those books, because I've got those, I just haven't read them yet. Anyway, the last book I read this week was the Batman and the Flash. Here you can see it's a lenticular cover. Batman the Flash, this is the button. So this is a part of Rebirth, and Rebirth is like, they're like, after Flashpoint, there's the DC universe changed and to New 52, but like there was a reason why everything changed. And if you get an idea of like, the button is that button. So that button is Watchmen. So you can tell Dr. Manhattan is fucking with the DC universe somehow. That's the whole idea of Rebirth, really, is that Dr. Manhattan's swapping things around and doing stuff. So that's happening now in Doomsday Clock, which isn't done yet, so I haven't read it. But once that comes out in a trade, I'll buy it and figure out what this is all about. But this is kind of like a prelude to Doomsday Clock. So, Dr. Manhattan sets this thing up where they touch the button, the Watchmen button, and they get kind of zapped off into the time stream. Well, like, not necessarily. They find it. Eobard Thawne finds it, who is the Reverse Flash, and he's like, gets the button and rushes off to find the source of the button because he feels like it has a lot of power, and he rushes off to find it, and he runs into Dr. Manhattan and gets murdered. But like, they find him. He comes back to Batman's cave where he's been fighting Batman, and like tells him that he's seen God, and then like bursts into flame or whatever. And they were kind of run back in time through the time stream to find him, and they get attacked by something, and they get saved by the coolest part of this whole book. Now, this is cool for me, but I doubt it's cool for anybody, as cool for most people, but like, the coolest part is like they're on the cosmic treadmill or whatever, and it starts falling apart, and they get almost lost in the time stream, and they get saved by dun 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 Golden Age Flash. Golden Age Flash was like a character I really liked. But yeah, Jay Garrick, the Golden Age Flash here with his like Hermes helmet and whatever, like, so cool. But he doesn't come back. He just comes back for a brief moment and then gets lost back in the Speed Force. But like, I hope they bring him back eventually. I hope they bring back all of those JSA guys, because like, I always liked Golden Age Green Lantern, Alan Scott, who is apparently dead now, and Jay Garrick, the Golden Age Flash. I like those two the most. But yeah, so that's all I read this week. That's not 6 books, right? I've got a lot more stuff to read, but like, I haven't finished everything, so. Oh wait, that's not all I read. That's not all. I read one more book. I read also volume 2 of Justice League Dark. I don't know where I put it though. It's probably still upstairs. Whatever. So I read Justice League Dark, volume 2. I don't have it to show you, but I definitely read it. It's like the beginning of them finding the books of magic again. And this is the New 52 Justice League Dark. There's a new one for Rebirth, but I haven't started reading that yet because the trade isn't out yet. But yeah, Justice League Dark is really good. I really enjoy that story. Kind of like, it brings a lot of Vertigo characters out. Like, the Books of Magic was a Vertigo title, and that kid from that book shows back up as a kid who doesn't really know magic, but can control the Books of Magic, which are the most powerful magic kind of items in the DC universe. And, there's like a bunch of characters show up that are, it's got like, what's his face, from Felix Faust, who is like one of the magicians from DC, and he's kind of the main villain here. And well, he's not I guess he kind of is, but also you have like someone else who's connected to Zatanna and Constantine from their past, like someone who trained Constantine, and then like Dr. Mist, who is like part of Argus. So like Argus is that government organization that I think that's the DU. I think they do stuff with like superpowered people. They like keep track of superpowered people. I think that's Argus. I don't remember. There's so many like, like acronym organizations in the DC universe. But they have like a collection of magical artifacts, and they hire Constantine to get back this one that finds the Books of Magic. And, they go on a quest, they get tricked, and eventually they find it, and everything turns out maybe okay. I haven't, at the end, like, they don't die, at least. Shade the Changing Man is gone. In the second volume, like, Shade the Changing Man is just gone. They're just like, whatever, Shade is gone. He's crazy. They replace him with, like, that vampire, forget his name, the good vampire in DC. And some other people. But, it's still a good team. I like the kind of, like, mutability of the team. Like, it's not a set, solid team. It's got your kind of main people. So, like, Zatanna and Constantine, I guess. But, like, I think Constantine goes away, too, for a little while, at least. But Zatanna is always there, so that's kind of something. And I guess Deadman also kind of constant. What is he gonna do? So yeah, that's about it. That's all I read. But yeah, so I will be back again, I guess next week, with more comic stuff. Let me know if you guys have any more recommendations for me, anything I should be looking into, anything you think I should try to hunt down. It's hard, like, again, I'll remind you, it's hard to find stuff that's out of print. Like, I have to just pray somebody trades something in, because there's, like, no comic book shops that sell back issues, right? So, like, I get all this stuff from like one or two shops, and like one shop just sells used books. It's like a used book dealer that has a lot of comics, and then the other shop is only sells new stuff. So what can I do? But but make some recommendations if you got any. You seen the kind of stuff I read, the kind of stuff I like. So yeah, that'll be it. That'll do it. So I will catch you guys next time.